In your estimation, what's the probability of finding intelligent alien life in the next 20 years and why?
The probability is low. Probably.
Look at this weird and interesting creature, the oar-heart. The oar-heart is a 7 to 8 foot long, semi-bipedal herbivore. This animal is as beautiful as it is outlandish, looking like it was taken straight out of the pages of a child's coloring book. These fructivores have a beautiful patterning of color all over their bodies, which they use to blend into the grassy savannas of its home world, Kasog Baton. Oar-hearts are often found near the rivers in the grasslands, with their territory stretching up to 10 square miles per pack. A community of oar-hearts can have as many as 30 individuals. Due to their pack nature, these creatures are very close to one another, helping in finding food and shelter, fighting off predators, and helping raise infants, even if it causes a disadvantage to themselves. And amazingly, one scientist observed an oar-heart, who was separated from his siblings at birth, remembered all of them after an almost 10-year absence, bringing light to the theory that this species has either an incredible sense of facial recognition or remembers individuals' smells very well. While the community-oriented instinct of the oar-hearts is very interesting, their upbringing is even more so. You see, these animals go through a metamorphosis, much like that of a butterfly. When baby oar-hearts are born, they are very vulnerable, so to accommodate this, the parents will dig out a hole in the ground near a riverbed. The muddiness of this cave will mask the scent of the infants, making protection from predators very easy. Once the mother gives birth to her babies after almost 6 months, she ushers them into the mud cave. The 3-legged infants will stay blind for a couple of days. After they do develop eyesight, they must be cared for by their parents for another 4 months. During this time, they must bring their babies food and water. They are able to scoop upwards of 3 gallons in their jaws, which they will slightly open to have their children drink out of. They will also bring water in the case of the mud hole drying out, which the babies need to cover themselves in the muck and also to cool themselves down, which they aren't capable of just yet. While caretaking seems like all stress in an oar-heart's life, it's not. Babies are very playful and will often include their parents in the fun. They like running around and chasing each other, rolling in the mud, and tackling one another, among other games. But although they are able to play around, they aren't allowed to go more than a few feet away from the nest. After their 4 months of upbringing comes to an end, the infants go into their metamorphosis state, where they will become just like the other members of their community, covered in bristly hair and a vibrant pattern. But first, they must enter their chrysalis stage. These chrysalises are made out of hardened fat that seeps out of the baby's paws, covering them in a thin sheath. The parents will then roll them in the mud and have it harden around them, allowing for better protection. This phase will take about 6 weeks, and during that time the parents will refuse to move away from the nest. Other oar-hearts will have to bring them sustenance. Inside of the chrysalis, however, something incredible is taking place. The infants begin to grow hair all over their bodies, which will make a beautiful pattern by the time they hatch. Their facial crests and ridges will become less pronounced. They will begin to grow a singular hind leg, and their 2 forelimbs will combine to be one. The last thing they grow is an organ called the capillus nasus. Once they're done developing, the oar-heart will break out of the chrysalis by chewing their way to freedom. Sadly, there is only one thing left for us to talk about: the anatomy of an oar-heart. While we won't be going over most of the creature, as their anatomy is convergently similar to ours, there are several distinct differences in it. Firstly, the capillus nasus, which grows on the back of their necks and at the tip of their tails, are used as a sort of nose. smelling everything around them. They use the tail to scout smells ahead. By sticking it high in the air, they can smell many more things adrift in the wind. They also have something called a pectus aurem, which is a hole on their chest that is angled downward to pick up vibrations in the ground. This is a very effective method they have evolved to detect predators, lest they become someone's dinner. The oarheart also has 4 jaws. The exact reason why this trait was favorable on the planet Kasog-Baton is unknown, but for oarhearts it's been observed to make it easier for the creature to eat its favorite fruit. All in all, the oarheart is a very wondrous and peculiar creature, living an incredible life on its home world. I hope you all enjoyed this trip into the stars and will consider joining me again on our next adventure. Goodbye and farewell, my friend.